Look, I'm gonna be dead honest. We all love Pokemon. I'm sure plenty of us grew up playing these games. For their time, Pokemon provided audiences with a fresh, personal experience. They made you care, and you could tell that they cared about the product that they were producing as well. And with each passing generation, you could see an increase in quality. I mean, it was enough to solidify the Pokemon franchise as the highest grossing video game franchise of all time. In October of 2013, however, Game Freak released Pokemon X and Y. Pokemon in 3D. It was something people had been waiting for ages. But to our dismay, it was clear that the people behind the team no longer had that same passion. And this was riding on the tailcoat of Gen 5, the generation of Pokemon in which they took a bold risk with their themes, gameplay, and story. In my opinion, easily some of the better games. And then we backtracked. Now that Scarlet and Violet have been released, I think it's clear to say that they finally realized that it doesn't matter how good of a game they make, because no matter what, people are gonna eat that shit up. And it was literal shit. This has stayed true for a while. It's as simple as copy and pasting the same unfinished game, adding some shitty gimmicks that people have hated since after Mega Evolution, and then making bank. These games are no more than quick and easy cash grabs. Anyways, Agnos is my region, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. As you've probably picked up by now, we are making a couple of changes to the game's mechanics to make the experience not feel like the same shit for 20 hours straight. Also, there are no games. Remember that. No games. This is all just conceptual. Hold up. Before we go anywhere, you're not subscribed. You know who you are. And even though 32% of you are subscribed, do notice that 68% of you are not. What's the big deal, guys? So, before you go anywhere, please do us a favor and subscribe. Appreciate it heaps. Cheers. The focus of these changes in the gameplay is to break up their repetitive nature and make grinding not the worst part of the game. Scarlet and Violet actually tried to fix these issues, but, well, they did a fucking piss poor job. Also, we're amping up the difficulty tenfold. All the latest Pokemon games have been holding your hand and wiping your ass for you. 3-hour tutorial. So, no EXP share, and the battle style is always on set. We're gonna break these changes up into 3 categories: general mechanics, visual changes, nighttime survival. General mechanics. So, first of all, we are going to make the switch from 3D into a 2.5D semi-open world experience. It would be something along the lines of the game Octopath Traveler in that sense. This is just so the player has more freedom to explore, though there will be areas that are inaccessible at times, and a story to follow still. Also, I'm just gonna put this out there. I think Pokemon looks fucking shit in 3D. Back in the day, we had awesome visuals with heaps of spunk, and now we have these dead looking ass models. Also, we're bringing back follow Pokemon, but now they actually make a difference. Every Pokemon can either be ridden or have following the trainer. You don't need HMs or any of that shit. If the Pokemon can do it, it can do it. Though, of course, limitations apply. They would have a limited stamina to stop people from abusing the system. Now, what would you say is the worst part of Pokemon games? I feel a lot of the audience would say the mundane task of grinding levels. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet solved this problem with their auto battle system. A system that allows players to avoid playing the game as an entirety. At least grinding levels was faster now, but the experience was just as miserable. Well, since we're in an open world with follow Pokemon, in Agnos, the idea is that you can fight Pokemon in the overworld without engaging in a traditional battle. Your Pokemon will have a heavy and light attack at their disposal, so it'll be heaps easier to farm XP, and it'll actually be fun. The idea is that you control your Pokemon and coordinate their attacks, aiming and everything included. To even things out though, if you want to do this, only your follow Pokemon will participate, only your follow will get EXP, and if the follow faints, it'll be a game over. So if you want to use more than one Pokemon, or capture something, you'll have to engage in a traditional battle. Visual changes. Agnos takes place in the ancient past, so of course, there are plenty of visual changes that have to take place so that things make sense. So, things that have been reskinned include Poke Centers, which have been replaced by campsites. I'll get into the significance of these soon. Pokemarts are now replaced by overpriced marketplaces. Pokeballs are now keystones, as the Pokeball had yet to be invented. The Pokédex is just instead like a big, fat, fucking Pokemon encyclopedia. You get the idea. Nighttime survival. Recent Pokemon games have been putting a big emphasis on food and picnics for some reason. I don't see the appeal and think it's dumb, but I can work with it. So, this is where the campsites come into play. They don't work like your typical Poke Center. When around the campfire, you get a slow but constant regeneration. Speaking of that campfire, you'll have to scavenge for those resources. 1. Kindling, made easier if you have a grass type following. 2. A fire source, made easier if you have a fire type following. 3. A water source, made easier if you have a water type following. 4. Food. Berries can be found from bushes, and meat can be collected from Pokemon after performing a kill shot. Let me explain what that is. So when in a traditional Pokemon battle, once you faint a Pokemon, the battle doesn't end. A smaller health bar will appear below the main one. You will have one turn to either kill the Pokemon by depleting that smaller health bar, or try and catch the Pokemon. Fainted Pokemon have a higher catch rate than a Pokemon in the red, but if you don't catch on the one attempt, the Pokemon will wake and flee. In a trainer battle, however, if a Pokemon deals damage that is equivalent to more than double the other's health, they too will have access to this smaller health bar. So once again, you have one turn to kill it after it faints. But if you can't do it on the one turn, the trainer will switch out the Pokemon. Anyways, back to the campsite. So what happens if you fail to meet these requirements? Well, without a fire going, you won't get that passive regeneration. Without water, the passive regeneration will be even slower. And, most importantly, going to sleep on an empty stomach will have effects on your next day of gameplay. Normally, on an average day, making sure you had a meal during the night, you can use up to 12 healing items during the day. And with the difficulty being ramped up, trust me, you'll want to use them. But if you don't get enough to eat the next day, you can only use 3 healing items. Also, during the night, when your fire is lit, wild Pokemon will be drawn to your location, and the Pokemon you encounter during the night are often stronger than those of the day. Assuming you've already depleted your heals for the day, the idea is that you need to balance venturing out to grind levels and returning to the campsite's regeneration AoE. That's pretty much it for the gameplay changes, other than little things like secret areas you can find, chase sequences, spirit totem Pokemon to battle, and all the fun little mini-game challenges that I went over in the videos on the Gamma Resistance and Bravo Federation. I think little additions like this would make for a heaps more fun game. What do you guys think of the changes? Let me know in the comments below. Please do subscribe, and I'll catch yous next time. Bye!